aboard for Success Express, your business, career, and financial radio magazine. Hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa. Every third Thursday we chat with Lea Brovedani. She is known as the Trust Architect. She's a speaker, a workshop facilitator on trust, and she's recognized as a top thought leader on trust by the organization called Trust Across America. She's also the author of Trust Me, Restore Belief and Confidence in an Uncertain World. I giggle every time I read that because it's really, we need it. We need it now. Also, she's the author of Trusted, Secret Lessons from an Inspired Leader. And I encourage you to go to her website, thetrustarchitect.biz. You can also hear her past interviews and watch some of them too on blendradioandtv.com. But today she's joining us to talk about trust in the tourism and hospitality industries. We've got National Travel and Tourism Week coming up May 1st through 7th, 2022. And, you know, tourism has gone through so much change. And also, not only is everybody out traveling again, it's kind of like a mad rush to travel, so it's a little crazy out there. And at the same time, the tourism industry and the hospitality industry has to look at how to get their staff back. And we as travelers also have to have that relationship with the tourism entities. So this is going to be a really cool conversation where she talks about her 5 tenets of trust, which is caring. Caring is the first one, commitment. We like these. Consistency, competence, and communication. So we're going to touch on those 5 things, and we're going to get her on the show now. So Lea, how are you? Welcome back.
I'm good. I was telling you earlier, we're getting our house ready to go on the market, so I've been scrubbing windows. Yay!
So you know what it's like to be in the world of hospitality. There's a whole bunch of scrubbing going on.
Yeah,
and so
it's called commitment.
Yeah.
Commitment to do it and caring, attention to details in there. So, you know, think about that laborious work and, you know, being a housekeeper and someone who does that. I think, you know, the hospitality industry has to look at taking care of them maybe a little bit better, depending on the place.
Yeah. You know, and each one of them has to make the commitment, because it doesn't matter how beautiful the hotel is. If you've got housekeeping staff that leave a dirty room, that can change the whole way you think about the hotel chain. Mm-hmm. So all the way down the line, you have to have a commitment with all of the people who are representing the hotel or the hospitality room or the Airbnb. It has to be there. You have to trust that your people are going to do what they say they're going to do.
And they've got to trust in you too, mm-hmm. as the employer or management. Yeah. You know, whether it's a bed and breakfast, like you say, Airbnb, even when it comes down to the people going in and fixing rooms, maintenance, you know, sometimes they'll come in and fix an air conditioner and leave like the air conditioner dust on the floor after the housekeepers have been there. And that's not right. Dude, you're not allowed to do that. I've just been on that side of what happens. It's like, no. So trust has to happen all the way through on those kind of projects. There's
also a thing, like, because we travel so much and have been in and out of a number of establishments, it really depends on the top management. If the top management is rude, the staff is rude. If the top management really cares about their clientele, their employees normally do too. That's what we've found. It kind of just falls into place that way. So you can tell by, not always, because there's always somebody who's a little bit different, but you can tell if the staff is kind of abrupt and rude, they're probably overworked, and their boss is probably not all that nice.
Yeah.
It's true. It is true. You can tell. And then that whole feeling clouds where you're staying. And it does have something to do with whether or not you enjoyed your stay, even though you might not be in the hotel all the time. You might be out having fun, but when you come back, you want somebody who's like, "Ooh, I hope you had fun." Not, "Oh God, not you. I have to now do something."
This is years ago. I remember working with an organization. This was up in Canada, and I was walking with the CEO of the company down the hallway of the building that they were managing, and he was stopping and picking up garbage that he saw in the hallway.
Yeah.
And it made me realize there's absolutely no one who could work for him who could ignore seeing garbage or something out of place. If the CEO, the person who was at the top of the chain, stopped and could pick things up, how could anyone else ignore it? So it really is, we learn from example. And if they're kind to people, then if they're kind to their employees, then the employees will mimic that behavior. There's, that famous saying that poop doesn't roll uphill.
It rolls down.
Only if you throw it.
But if you're rolling it uphill, it's going to be messy, man.
Yeah.
But I love that, because there's also, in hoteling, a lot of times the managers, good ones, will walk the premises.
Yeah.
Every morning, every evening, like every shift change, to make sure staff are doing they're around seeing what's going on with their guests. They walk that perimeter. Is there trash blowing in? Is there something out of whack? What's going on in the parking lot? What's going on the inside? You walk the perimeter and walk the inside. You just do this walkabout, and you should do it even in restaurants. What's going on? Is there a bunch of trash at my doorstep? And so there's that commitment to, hospitality is about clean and comfort.
And
welcoming. Comfort is part of that.
Yes.
So that clean, that is the attention to detail and shows that you care. So that's one of your tenets. The very first one is caring, which also goes with communication, and all your tenets all connect, that's another C. Hello. But they really do all connect. And especially when we think about, these hotel groups, there's a lot of individual, like small business hotel groups and small restaurant chains that we're seeing as we travel. It's really cool. They're regional. Like we just stayed in one in Long Beach Peninsula, and that was probably one of our best experiences in hotel, motel kind of style stays. And we were just kind of used to, because we like to park our car outside the door, because we have all our gear. You guys know we travel full time across the country, so it's like, okay, let's offload everything into a hotel room every night. It sucks, quite frankly. It's like being a musician and setting up for the gig. You have to carry all the amps in and all of that stuff. So it's kind of similar. So we do as much as we can in motels, and we love our B&Bs too. We want and a lot of times there you're kind of safer. You don't have to bring everything in. You can watch your car. And this place it was exceptional. And for the price, you went in, they had Keurig coffee in all different flavors. They gave you bottled water, not just for the one night, but the 2 nights we were there. They thought ahead. Everything was clean, spotless. You could walk to the beach, walk to the downtown. I mean, I gave it a 10 out of 10 review, because this place was out of control cool. Yeah. And then I found out, now I'm all digging like, who is this, And I found out it's a small hotel group that has just started up doing in the Pacific Northwest. I think they're also back east in Florida too. And I'm like, you guys are doing amazing things. Not only do you change it so that the covers aren't that disgusting coverlets that motels do. I mean, will you stop it? Really, it looks like someone threw up on them. Stop it. That's just you could be an inexpensive motel, but you do not need the those coverlets anymore. You just don't. When you buy new ones, just get a nice clean color. But anyway, sorry, I'm just saying, because we've done a lot of this. But this hotel, pure white, clean. And it's just, they did decor that made sense to the region, but not out of pocket. Not, they did it tastefully within what the hotel is, or the motel, I should say, because it's in by the sea. They did it tastefully. Mm-hmm. And I think we're seeing this resurgence of motels across the country where the Route 66 motels are coming back. It's all of these kind of road tripping is back. But just because maybe you're not the most expensive, fancy, luxurious, doesn't mean you don't take care of your guests and offer cleanliness. And so it was just this amazing surprise when someone did it right. And you just,
how was it?
And then like our remote control didn't work, so I went to the desk and they fixed it. It was like, you don't care if there was a problem because they were so nice, you know?
Yeah. And I think that when we talk about tourism, the caring component, and we've talked about this before, is so important. Like when I go up to a counter and they greet me and make eye contact and just, like pleasant small talk makes such a difference. And compare that with going up to a place where two of the employees are talking and they don't acknowledge you at all. And you feel like you're interrupting their conversation. Mm-hmm. There's, that blink, the book Blink, when you make a decision about a place in a blink, that's when it starts. The caring that you get as soon as you walk in there and people acknowledge who you are and treat you like you're a person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, that's the difference between people who are working I'm 9 to 5 or whatever the shift is. It's just a job. And people who are working their vocation or what they really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to give a shout out to that property. It's in at the sea in Long Beach, Washington. That's what it was. And it's really true because it's about you being a person when you walk in, and it doesn't matter luxury or not. That's what hospitality is. And if you're there just to run a motel, a restaurant, whatever it is, and just going for the money factor, I think that's where people fall down in success. Of course, we all want to be profitable. I'm all for that. We're in business, for that, but you want to enjoy it too. So I wonder about that, Lee, in the whole trust model, if people aren't coming in with that authenticity, of why do you have a hotel or a restaurant or something in the tourism world, an attraction, if you're only money headed, you know what I mean, without the experience for the guest? Can that fall flat in the trust component?
Yes, and I really do believe you can train people to show them what hospitality looks like. I'm just thinking, and this person that I spoke to today wasn't in hospitality, but it was almost comical. I called in, and it was a landscaping company because we needed to get the yard done. And I called and said, "Hi, it's Lea Brovedani, and I'm at blah, 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 blah." And she went, whoa, you're talking too fast.
Whoa.
And I kind of chuckled.
Oh my gosh, I almost like beep, 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 expletive beep, beep, and beep, 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 beep.
I wanted to say,
oh my God.
I wanted to talk to the owner and say, maybe we could work on customer service with your group. And if someone doesn't hear it, they can say, "I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Can I have you repeat what you said?" Instead of whoa. And I laughed and I went, here's someone who has no training or idea on how to approach people with customer service. So it's the small things and caring, although, you hope that it's sincere and you have people who have that personality to be able to work with clients and customers. You can train them on how to show up in a caring way.
But that's a really big deal. But it is funny. I mean, the things that happen in tourism is crazy funny. There's so many stories.
But the whoa is for horses, not people.
Yeah, I know.
It's for horses.
And you could have gone back and said, hey, but anyway, it's really be in the stable. But that's the thing. It's communication. And when you talk about customer service, it's communication and caring. Competence is a big deal. right?
Yeah.
And consistency in customer service is huge. You know, when I think about that kind of communication you had, it just is, she is losing a sale right there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's the same thing in tourism. Someone, you know, and here's the thing, when you book hotels and whatever, there's this cancellation thing. And that's a kind of this weird thing. You get there and it sucks. The person's rude, you know, then it's like, hello, you know, I'm spending my money here and I'm going to leave if I want. Now, if you're through booking.com or one of those hotels.com, that's a big mess for you and the property. Like if you book through the property, you can talk to the owner, you know, or the management, and just saying, I'm just saying.
I was staying at a hotel in Calgary when I was there last week, and I checked in at 11 o'clock, and the fellow behind the counter was really, really friendly, and he said, check-in time is actually 4 o'clock, and I went, oh my God. And he said, don't worry, I've got you. I'm going to make, you know, I'll find a room that's available and we'll get you in now. I mean, just
that's nice.
That was just such, to me, that is what caring looks like. He could see I was tired, and he saw that, you know, all I wanted to do was go in and crash and have a little bit of a nap. But those are the things that make a difference. And even though it wasn't, you know, a 5-star hotel, and it's one that I'll go back to, just because he was so good at showing that he cared.
Yeah. You know, and that's a huge thing, because when people check into a hotel, sometimes they've driven or flown multiple destinations to get there. And by the time they get to the hotel, they're cranky, they're tired. And, you know, I always think they should have a margarita bar at every hotel check-in.
Yeah, I'm down.
You know, but it's you know, there's some that, you know, in the high desert and the desert areas, sometimes they give you water as you check in, and I don't know what to call it in this country, a face cloth, washcloth. That's damp.
Yeah. Face cloth, washcloth.
For your face. Yeah, I'm lost on. We've been talking to Glenn in England. I'm lost on my language now. But you know, so there's things like those little amenities that make, like, a brand can do and be consistent with, and it keeps that. I mean, customer service. You don't have sales without that. You really, you'll maybe get a 10% of your market that just wants to check in and be left alone, but the 90% want the cozy, the comfort, the caring, and the attention to detail. Because if you didn't have attention to detail, we'd all stay home, right?
Well, the thing is, you're in a service industry. If you don't want to be of service to people, don't be a politician, don't be a restaurant, don't be a hotel. You know, there are industries that are service, and there's a few that aren't. So go for the ones that aren't.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not of that personality, and some people really just aren't, or they lack training and nobody's made them aware.
Yes.
You know, like I don't think somebody who hasn't traveled should run a hotel, because they don't understand people who travel and their needs.
Yeah. I think the three of us should open a hotel.
Oh,
come on, Lee, you've traveled the world. We've traveled all over. Come on, we could open a hotel. And we can train people to run it.
I know that, Lisa, you make just a wicked breakfast. So, like, we're set. We can have an Airbnb and
that's only because I took over for Nancy and made her brunch this past Easter. But normally she is the omelet queen. She's the one who does that. When we did the B&B for our friends at the Lion and the Rose in Asheville, everyone, August, come on. We're going to be B&Bing again. We're going to be running a B&B for 3 nights. I don't know why they trust us again. It's scary. Like,
no, it's fun.
It's scary. No, but it's so scary. Like, you freak out.
I'm going to find new recipes too.
Well, Nancy did good, but the attention to detail, that caring. But we could do it, Lee. I mean, come on. You're going to train the staff. So would you go into hotels, like hotel groups and chains, and even just like an on-site hotel? I mean, we know people that run like a series of brand hotels, because once you get in, you get in. You know, it's like if you got that fever, you know, I'm going to do this, and then there's restaurants with like small franchises. Would you go in and help them in regards to working with trust between employees and then trust within, the employees and the leadership and owners, and then trust between the business, the employees, and the client. And do you do that kind of thing?
Yeah. And
cool.
Some of it is finding out, from the consistency perspective, is working with management and saying, what do you want to be consistently known for? And then how do you train for that? So there's chains that have figured out some things. Like there's some that you go into and they have warm chocolate chip cookies when you get in, and you can have a cup of tea and a warm chocolate chip cookie. And they're known for that. It's consistent across doesn't matter what city you go to. When you go to that particular chain, you're going to get a warm chocolate chip cookie and people are going to greet you. And they train people that across the board. If you're staying at a Marriott or a Taj property, you know that you're going to get like over the top exceptional service. Well, the Taj properties, for example, when we stayed at one of them, they showered us with rose petals as we walked in the door. And no one, like my husband never does that for me. He never stands on the roof and showers me with rose petals. I've asked him, but he just hasn't done it yet.
But, that's why you travel, because you get to have those experiences, And then don't forget, if you ask your husband to do that, remind, just say, hey, do I look good in this dress? I was going to say from our last conversation. Yeah, but that's the thing.
The statement is, honey, do I look fat in this dress? And he says, well, no, the dress doesn't make you look fat.
See, I know. Talk about pure honesty up front.
Oh, boy. That's
I just have to say to the audience, my husband would never do that. He's such a good guy. He would never step on that landmine.
That's something that Archie Bunker would say.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a bunker. That's a bunkerism.
Yeah, that's Archie Bunker.
But I think this is so cool, Tom, because those things where you get that exceptional, like, warm and friendly. We stayed at a, oh my gosh, it was I got to look it up. I'm going to have to look it up. It was in Little Rock, Arkansas, excuse me. Yeah, I'm going to go look it up right now. And it was the Hilton. It was Doubletree Hilton, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was a riverfront stay. Yeah, here it is in Little Rock, Arkansas. Doubletree, and the views, they put us in a room. It was kind of an older hotel, but you walked in, the staff just kind of, here, let me take your luggage. Here, let me do this. And let me give you a cookie and water and this whole thing. And they took us up the bellboy. And I was like, I drove in the wrong way. And people started to get mad. And he just went out there and said, hey, you be nice. She's allowed to drive how she wants. She's a guest. And because people were getting like, I drove in the inn. I mean, I'm backwards. I just the way it was. And he was cracking up. The next morning, he's like, now, Miss Lisa, you know which way to drive in. And I'm like, I do now, But he got us upstairs, and Nancy had a room overlooking the Capitol, so she could see the state Capitol at night.
Nice.
So Capitol building was all lit up. It was magical. My room overlooked the Arkansas River, and the sunset. Oh, my God, it was amazing. And I was like, wow, for a brand hotel to... there's that service that, is supposed to be the same consistency that you talk about for trust, but it was amazing. It was really, really one of the coolest hotel stays. And we'd go back and forth between each other's rooms for the view. Yeah. But every time you walked in, they let us have extra cookies and water. And they even told me, like, this is only when you check in, but since you're here, we're going to give it to you. You know what I mean? They were like nicely saying, you're overindulging, but we're fine with that, on the water and the cookies. But it was hot. It was August and, but I just will never forget that, the guy who took us upstairs, our bellboy took our luggage, and he gave us more recommendations of what to see and do than you could imagine. Mm-hmm. He was like, what do you like to do? You like music? Oh, well, you got to do this. Well, you got to check this out. You are in the best city. You are in the best hotel. And when you've got a dog, Lee, I know you've got Booker. Now, when you get all giddy with a dog, they start to wag their tail. They get the wiggy butt. That's what he did to us. We're all tired and oh man, it was such a drive, And all he says, you're here, you're in Little Rock. Let's get up to your hotel. We're going to get you in. Look at this view. By the time he was done, we had this tense energy that, we didn't care about our drive there. And that was an experience that to me. And he told us where to go. And then every time you walk through, if you saw him the next day and the next day, he, recognized us and we recognized him. And it was this hi, how are you? We're in someone's home when it was a brand hotel. And I think when they can have that, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, in the hospitality industry, in tourism, their business has to be built on trust. They have to give that kind of experience so that people trust that the next, they'll come back again and again, they'll tell other people, because a lot of tourism is built on word of mouth. Mm-hmm. They can do a lot of advertising, but if I'm going someplace and if I have a choice between 3 pretty similar priced hotels, the one that a friend tells me, stay here, the staff are so good and you're treated really well, they really care about you and it shows, that's the one that's going to get your business.
It's true, because if you stay in brand hotels, which a lot of times we do, and sometimes we don't, but you expect something from a brand. Yeah. And I would say probably 75% of the time you get that expectation, but when you don't, the other 25% is a real letdown. Mm-hmm. And it sometimes when you have to call and say, hey, our room that you just let us check into hasn't been cleaned. Oh. That is such a bummer. We've had that. Yeah. That is such a bummer, because you're tired, you traveled, and you want to just sit down, relax, have a cocktail, and enjoy that you're somewhere new.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to stand there while they either switch you to another room or send somebody in to clean, and they're not going to clean as well as they should.
I hate the room switches. It's such a pain in the butt.
I hate it.
Yeah. I hate the room switch. When you lugged your stuff in, you know what I mean? But if you're traveling light, that's the thing. Traveling light, it's like, so what? I'll just move to the other room. It's not a big deal, which is a good thing that we can do as travelers too. There's the other side of all of this is, what are we doing as travelers? Are we having nice communication? What are we doing? What's our footprint in the tourism industry? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as we talk about the environment. You see a lot of hotels really pulling out stops to make sure, do you really need new towels every 5 minutes? That's not good for the environment. No. So there's all of these changes they're making. And at the same time, as travelers, we have to look at our footprint and climate change and what we're doing, but it's the same in communication. And are we one of those ugly travelers? How are we treating people? Because that affects them and whether or not they even want to stay in the industry too. You could be, waiters, waiting staff, staff that comes and cleans a table off. They are not to be looked down upon. No, and that's something. So I think the industry, when people got to spend time out, they're like, I'm so tired of people being rude to me, screw it. And we need to step up above that as travelers. I think we have a responsibility to give back to the community that we're actually going in and taking from. We may be paying our way, but that doesn't mean we get to be. That doesn't mean you get to be. Doesn't mean, I'm watching my language.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you get to be rude.
And being able to acknowledge when you've had good service, going up to their boss, and hopefully while the employee is present and saying, I just want to let you know that you have such a good employee. Here's my experience, and I really appreciated how good they were, and then be really specific. They could tell I was tired and cranky, and they got me checked in so quickly. In fact, they let me get into my room a couple of hours early, and I really appreciate it. I'll be back. That makes all the difference, not just to the person, but the manager then realizes how that impacts their business.
The bottom line. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reviews are huge. In tourism, whether it's a restaurant, hotel, attractions, I mean, it's just like everybody, it's like when you go to, I think, Disneyland, right, Nancy? I can't remember it but I mean, like the Epcot Center I can talk about. You go to a theme park, everybody's on cue. Like, no one in the theme park, and I don't think those major theme parks can have a bad day,
No, Disneyland, if you're not smiling, you get fired.
Yeah, Disneyland, you're there to make people's dreams be real. You know what I mean? It's all about that experience. And when you go to one of those theme parks, if you have a crabby Mickey Mouse, nay, you can't have that.
That would be a rat.
Right. So I think it's, when we think about it, it's everybody on the tourism side and the restaurant side, we know crabby customers and, there's small talk and then not overdoing the small talk. There's a way to have communication, and I think that's a crucial thing. And sometimes you just can't please everybody either. No. You have to also realize that some people are just really bad travelers. Mm-hmm. And that just ruins the industry. It ruins the world of travel and excitement. It sucks. And, they're going to give bad reviews no matter what the hotel or the restaurant or the attraction has done. They're just crabby people, and they're out there. I mean, they are, and they can hide behind social media, and they can hide behind their computer once they do stuff. So you can't always fix all of it. So you have to remember that too, right, Lee? Isn't that part of it with communication, is understanding that and being able to move on? And, when you're in a company that if you have a really mean client come in to whatever the entity is, restaurant, hotel, whatever, and there's some people that are almost abusive to the staff. Mm-hmm. If the management doesn't stand up and say, that's enough of that. Yeah. And even kick out the customer, like in restaurants, bars, if someone's getting drunk and stupid to the, that's the serving staff, that's just out of line. That you have to trust your company to stand up for your well-being, especially women in the industry, man. Really. I don't, the things like Hooters and stuff, like, I'm like, oh my God, you're asking for it. Yeah. And it's like,
well, I don't like that. Don't say it.
You know what I mean? Way. So women, when I say they're asking for it, in that, you're going to get people who are going to say bad things. You know what I mean? And I don't say asking for it, like when we look at women who get raped, you should be able to walk naked everywhere and not get raped. So I'm one of those. But so what I'm saying is, like, it's going to come, but your company needs to stand up for you and your integrity and what you do. So that trust factor has to be there from the employer.
Yeah. And you have to be willing to fire your customer too. You have to be able to fire bad customers. And I think, if you've been in business for any length of time, there's going to be times when you realize this isn't the right match for me. Like I'm not doing them a service by working for them. And they're certainly not doing me a favor when I could have another client who would fully appreciate what I can do for them. Sometimes you have to, and that's the same with crabby customers. Sometimes, you have to just smile and put on the face and recognize you might only have a 10-minute interaction, and you have to make it the best 10 minutes that you can possibly make it. And accept the fact that other customers who are watching that nasty person, if you can handle it professionally, you've got their admiration and respect.
Mm-hmm. And, exactly. When customers watch other customers misbehave, they're on the staff side. Most people.
Yeah.
They really do. They empathize, and they're like, this is not right. We're not like that. And they kind of give kudos to the staff. So, and really when you're acting like an idiot, That's what everybody sees, and you can't take it back. Once you've done it, the most you can do is apologize and don't do it again. Because the people watch you, they see you acting like a 2-year-old, basically having a temper tantrum. No matter what, I don't care who you are or how many degrees you have, you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
You do. You really do. So, and then it's unfair to everybody in the room.
Yeah. And never, like there's, I taught customer service for a number of years. And one of the rules is that you would praise in public and criticize in private.
Yeah.
And when I used to see managers, even if it was justified, reaming out an employee in front of people, I had less respect for the management. And I wanted to go up to the person who was getting, I don't care what they did.
It's awful.
It's embarrassing for everyone. I always wanted to go, and I haven't done this, but I always thought I wanted to go up to the manager who was giving the dressing down and just saying, you look like an ass. Do this in private. There is never an excuse for trying to shame someone in public.
And you know what, even not only do they look like an ass, their company now looks dubious. You don't want to do business with a company who employs someone.
I don't want to do, no.
You wouldn't want to do.
Don't abuse your employees. It's like,
that's the opposite of caring.
Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually can end up in a lawsuit, and then that will go public.
Sure.
There's so many. If you're in California, Ward Heinrich's on our show every month, and we're talking about all these different laws. Man, you better not screw up. It's like you could go to court a bit, or just have a legal nightmare. And who wants that? Who wants to have to send letters or now be worried? Don't you all want to go to bed? Easily
thinking
and sleep and know you did a good job.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's we have got to in the tourism world look at how employees have been treated and stand up better for them. And, at the same time, there's a lot of great businesses doing great things and taking care of their clients in amazing ways. So it's not all bad. There's, you look at, I think the bed and breakfast thing, we stayed in 30 over 2 years. And what we saw was the ultimate in communication and attention. And some people were actually selling at the time we stayed there and we were doing their story. And because there's generations that come in, and now the industry has such a younger, or not just younger,
it's really
like
a shift.
New set of people. It's shifted. It's not, doilies and dust on antiques that you can't walk around in a bed and breakfast. These things have really changed up, and they're all proud of the history that they're preserving, these homes, and they're proud of their community. They know how to get things working. They acted like visitor bureaus. Like, they know people, and they'll just pick up the phone and call someone. Hey, you need to be part of this, And it just was this. It was like being behind the scenes with them. The way they can do things, and there was just this communication, and we're seeing younger and younger people stay in a bed and breakfast. We've seen a lot of people staying for the first time. And you want it to be fun. Like when we did the bed and breakfast in Line in the Roads, when we were running it for those 3 nights, just in those 3 nights, how much we learned and how much caring. Like the honeymoon couple, I was like, there's no way. And we cannot let that, that wine bottle's got to be perfect. That chocolate dish has to be perfect. That everything, like when they come downstairs, they have got to feel excited. Even, if a couple's had a fight, even you can tell. And it's like, you want to shift gears for them when they come down for breakfast. Like, you want a beer mosa,
I have to tell you how I messed up, because I was staying at an Airbnb when I was up in Canada, in Calgary. And for some reason, I had it in my brain that I was staying until the 13th, but I was supposed to be out on the 12th.
Ooh.
So I went visiting, and I, of course, left all of my stuff all over the place. And they came in to clean up. And of course, everything's there.
Oh.
all over the place, and they can't get in touch with me. But they handled it with such grace. It was just like, when she finally got a hold of me, she said, "Thank goodness you're okay. I was worried that something had happened to you."
Oh.
And then said,
wow,
"We've
well
gone
done.
ahead and charged you for an extra night. And there was a cost because they had the cleaner there and they had to cancel the cleaner and bring him in the next day." But, it was like, so the trust,
Wow.
yeah, the trust architect completely blew that one. But I have to say that between the two of us, I said, well, I've been doing this for years, so I knew that I'd screw up sometime. I'm glad that you were so understanding about it, but we had this really kind of funny banter back and forth. And I'm sure that they were not pleased with me, but they handled it so graciously. And with such care that
that's awesome.
I gave them, all high reviews as far as, and I was kind of worried because if Airbnbs, you can't see the review they did on you until you submit your review.
Yeah.
So I was trusting that they wouldn't say, "This person is a complete mess up." And they didn't.
But but it was nice that you did have that communication. It's like, that is a whole, yeah. I mean, you have to have that communication. You're part of trusted house sitters like we are, where, we pet sit and you travel and people sit for you. And
right.
One day we'll get there. We'll get wherever you are and we'll sit for you at some point because we got to play with Booker. But it's the review process. And you did a segment with us just on them being, that Trustpilot website. They are the most trusted house and pet sitting platform, and no money exchanges hands, except for the membership for trusted house sitters. And, that review process is crucial. And,
Yes.
To me, it's holding us all accountable. And if there's a problem, and we've had some interesting things that happen too, it's communication. And Angela Laws, the community manager, she's always about go back to the communication. First thing, and number one, pets are the central thing of everything we do. So even if the pet parents are being weird, you take care of the pets no matter, it's like that,
Right.
That's our thing. Pets first, house, of course. And when it comes to any kind of anything, we've had to shift and change viewpoints because you're talking about somebody's children and everybody raises their kids differently, right? So we're taking care of kids, basically, when you look at animals and their pets. And so it's that review process comes in, and it's like, we're not doing it for the reviews, we're doing it for the care. Nancy and I personally we love it. I mean, we love animals. So it's like the coolest thing for us. But it's this two-way street of communication, and you hope. Please do a review on us. We've done everything we possibly can because we go all the way out, no matter what. It's like, this has got to be the best no matter what the situation is. We do the absolute best we can. And if something was wrong, we will have a communication. And you have to go, okay, we may swear, but then when we talk, and we've never sworn at any of you pet parents out there, no. But if there's something that's uncomfortable, if you don't have that communication, you have to kind of calm down, assess the situation, and then go in and say, what is the best for the animal? What is the best? What is this and that? So it's a very interesting thing, and that's part of tourism too. I mean, people need to have their pets taken care of. Don't leave them locked up in a hotel room. That's mean.
No, that's asking for so much trouble.
We used to watch. In one motel, they allowed pets, and people do travel comfortably with pets. There's definitely the right pets for the right time, the right situation.
If they're trained to travel.
I remember calling the hotel owner that was friends of ours because we were at our hotel, and I said, "There's a cat swinging from the curtains." And she's like, "Oh, good. I'm going to charge him a pet deposit. The pet deposit's coming in. Like she won't, And I'm like, oh, I thought you would just be really actually worried about the curtains. But anyway, okay, if you look at it that way. But yeah, the communication, I think, is probably one of the crucial things for when we talk about tourism and hospitality.
Yeah. And and you did talk about the fact that all 5 of the tenets for trust all go together. I mean, if you care, it comes across in your communication.
Right.
And the communication, in turn, if you're communicating, it actually can enhance the care. And, as far as training your staff, there has to be some consistency.
Right.
And you can see how all of them kind of flow together. So caring, commitment, consistency, competence, and communication, all 5 of those go together. And when you work and you're aware of them, that's when you have this wonderful trust that goes between people in the tourism industry and the clients who are taking advantage of the facility.
Do you think that when you look at the 5 tenets, is that something when you work with a company? Because I was just thinking, like, this should be up in like the workroom, like the coffee break room or lunchroom or wherever everyone can gather. This should be up on a board, and they should look at the 5 tenets and kind of write their mission statement with it. You know what I mean? This is what we want for our clients. This is what we want for our company culture, right? How we treat each other. And this is how we're going to treat our clients. And even your vendors, don't be bad to your vendors. That's the other thing. If you're bad to your food guy and then you don't pay your bill, you can get totally royally screwed. Food vendors will cut you off. And even with all this supply-demand drama, and during COVID, restaurants had to band together to get their food orders in so they would have enough food to make the order happen. So it's like, you've got that communication needs to also go out to your community and also with the vendors. And this attitude of, well, I'm paying them, so they need to just do what I want. No. That's what I love about what your 5 tenets are and about trust, is it breathes out. It's not just trust in the business with your employees. It's not just trust with the clients, but it goes into the community. If you've sponsored like a triathlon, Lee, which I know you're going to put on next year, if you're going to sponsor the triathlon and you've done it for 5-10 years, everybody goes, oh, they always do this. And then one year you pull out just because of whatever. That's kind of like a downer. You know what I mean? It's like you can't force everyone to do it, and maybe they have a good reason to pull out or something. But and you've got to also have that communication with that, hey, and they have to have consistency with the event for everyone to do everything. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's like the trust part goes with the community around you in tourism.
And when you're talking about vendors, because this is my business. When you have to go after someone to get paid, it's demoralizing. It's horrible. Pay as soon as I get a bill, because I don't think anyone should have to chase to get paid for the work they've done.
Yeah, it's mean.
So, all of that's, from my perspective, that's part of caring. And I've had people say, well, it's just good business to extend it and pay the bill in 90 days. No, especially if it's a small business. They're depending on that. They've already had to pay out the money in order to provide the service for you. So making them wait even longer just seems just so wrong to me.
Yeah, it is. And
actually, and there's a cost in gaining the business. There's a cost in your first time a client comes in no matter what business, actually. That's if they don't repeat, you lose money. Like, because the first time, all that investment, the advertising or whatever it is to get that client, there's energy. Maybe if you're a service, there's so much into that client's first experience that it only really pays once they stay longer. In tourism, like hotels, they really need you to stay for 3 nights, not 2 nights, not 1 night. 1 night is rough on a hotel because they have to do the cleaning. I mean, it is. It's like, and restaurants, you don't need to stay there for 10 hours. They want you to eat, enjoy, have a good time, but then like mosey on out.
So they can get the next
get their
sitting.
next client in. And I know this is something that sounds really weird to say to the clientele of tourism, but our country needs to get back on track financially. If we have a recession coming in, and I don't think the rest of the world's doing any better, this is about us all working together. And so when you are the client of a hotel, understand if you want to stay that second day, you're actually now becoming helpful profitability wise. And I mean this in the best way. And so same thing for a restaurant. You don't need to spend 2 hours later unless you're really not taking up space or time or sometimes it's the closing time and they're cleaning around you or whatever. That's fine to a point. It's just there's these certain things that us as travelers could just maybe be more aware of, because you want these places to stay in business, because you're not just helping the business, you're helping an entire community. And the tourism dollar helps fund schools, helps the smaller business even for small towns. If you have a gas station, it's not going to run just on your locals. You need the tourism that's coming through. And tourism comes in many forms. Medical comes in, even COVID. All the traveling nurses it became a form of tourism. So you've got to look at it's just tourism is huge in what happens to an economy nationally, regionally, internationally. I mean, it really is. So we, on all sides, need to look at that and accept it in. And the community, as Nancy always says, the community needs to have their say in how they want their tourism to be in their community. Otherwise, it won't work.
And they have to agree, and everybody has to be on the same page. So they present to the people traveling the right kind of welcome for the town, this is what our town thinks, so that they feel welcome everywhere they go, so that they will tell other people, so that more people will come in and the town makes more money.
There's
and
a little
better
restaurant
facilities.
Just in Elkins Park. I live in Pennsylvania, but there's a little restaurant called Welcome Back.
Cool.
And when you walk in the door, they greet you and they say, welcome home. Like as soon as you walk in. And it's really, and it's said, it feels very sincere. I walked in once and they didn't say welcome home. And I kind of was a little disappointed. And then it's one of, it's the woman who owns it. She kind of comes up to you and says, well, welcome home. And it's just those little things that make a huge difference. And so that restaurant is known as this warm, friendly place. It's not fancy, but you know that you're going to get a warm greeting. The food is excellent, and you're just going to be treated well while you're there.
You couldn't really ask for anything more, seriously. No. That covers
Clean,
it.
comfortable, and good. Yeah. Exactly.
Covers
And that's the places I think a lot of us travelers want, are those local spots that are unpretentious, that we want to have that authentic experience. We want to feel like a local. And you want to be able to walk in the park and say hi to someone, and not the person in the park going, you damn tourist. So that's that communication. Right. And then so everybody doing things, that trust goes so far in tourism, because you're going to trust that, okay, we're going to accept tourism to our community, these smaller ones, right, these historic ones, and we're going to trust that everyone's going to handle this in the best way and do what they say. I mean, it's a huge deal. So what a cool conversation, Lee. This is cool. We have to do more on tourism.
I do think that we have to get together at some point, and we'll all cook. Out of all of us, I'll have to drag my husband in, because he is such a good cook.
Cool.
So, good. Well, we Nancy and I are not big. Nancy, listen, I'll make pizza or a salad or a sandwich. That's my skill.
I bake.
Nancy,
so I can make cakes.
And pies we love that.
Bread and buns and So I can
Nancy does omelets, and I know how to pour champagne and cocktails. and
Well, then do
open
we
any
need
kind of
anything
bottle.
else? Seriously, Lisa, do we
No,
need
that's
anything
enough.
else?
Well,
There it is.
can Rick barbecue?
He can barbecue. He does amazing
There it is.
Indian food and Indonesian
Oh,
food
well
and
then.
Korean food.
The Indian food, we're
he's
done.
really good.
We're set. Just the Indian food. You had me at that. We're done. And then, you know what? I think we could open our own, place, and then we'll have to have
Oh.
other people to run it because none of us will be there because we're all too busy traveling.
Exactly. Or drinking your champagne.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Or I think when we're seeing you, we're going to have the amber liquids. I think that will have to happen.
Absolutely.
I think we've graduated from like the bubbly in our very first conversation to now we're going all in. We may have to do the whole, spectrum, the rainbow. I don't know, but it's going to happen at some point for sure. No matter where you are, if it's in Pennsylvania, or if it's up in Nova Scotia, wherever, it'll all happen. It always does. It just takes time.
That's good.
Awesome. Lee, thanks again. Everyone, keep up with Lee. Lea Brovedani, go to thetrustarchitect.biz. You can also find out about her books and keep up with her on social media, Facebook and Twitter mostly. And, of course, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Don't forget, National Tourism Week starts May 1st through 7th. So be kind. That's all I'm saying. And you probably already are. And probably telling me, you don't need to tell me to do that. So there you go.
Okay.
As I said that, I'm like, people are going to yell at me. I know you're kind. It's all good. Take care.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Nancy.
Bye-bye.